Parents this year learned that all of our children would be doing online education from home. For an unknown, unrelated reason, we all immediately developed migraines. Today I hope to take some of that pain away and help you build a $30 desk for your child. All you'll need from the store is 3 2x4s and 1 2-foot by 4-foot sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. At my Menards, these are called handy panels. At a minimum, you'll also need these tools. Now, don't get mad at me a minute when you see me break out a track saw. I said at a minimum. I've got more than a minimum. The first step is to cut the plywood in half. Don't trust that it's exactly 48 inches. It's probably not. So actually take a measurement and cut that exactly in half. This is going to be the top, the bottom, and the sides of the desk. To make things easier on myself, I've got a couple pieces of insulation I use to break down plywood on top of my bench. You can pick these up dirt cheap at the hardware store if you'd like a piece. Like I said before, a track saw is not necessary, but I own one, so I'm going to use it. If you don't, just clamp a straight edge to your plywood and use a regular old circular saw. If you don't own a table saw, mark out 4 inches from the bottom and cut those off. We're going to use these for the sides of the box. Then continuing to use your circular saw or a miter saw, or even your table saw, cut them to length. I'll have detailed measurements in my plans listed on my website below. The box construction is very simple. Glue gets placed on both sides of the 4-inch strips and sandwiched in between the larger pieces of plywood. The only thing to keep in mind here is that the nice side of the plywood needs to be facing up on both pieces. This is so the top of the desk and the inside of the drawer both have a nice surface. I forgot to mention it in the minimum requirement tool section, but you're also going to want a couple clamps. Sorry. That or a pin nailer. But if you have neither, the clamps are cheaper. You may notice I have a lot more plywood than I would need for one desk. That's because I'm building 3. But you have 4 children, Mike. Oh, I know. I just love one of them a little bit less. Kids, if you're watching and you think it's you, it probably is. Went back to the miter station and set up a stop block so I could cut out all the leg pieces for the tables. Again, this is just as easily done with a circular saw and a straight edge. But I just bought this new miter saw, so I'm definitely going to use it. This is definitely not a necessary step, but anytime I'm building something out of construction lumber, I like to square everything up so my joints fit together nicely. If you don't own a table saw, don't worry about missing out on this step. You're just going to have a little bit of rounded edges on some of your joints. Next step is adding all the pocket holes. This thing is the Big Craig K5. If you don't own this one, that's fine. You can buy the cheapest, crappiest pocket hole jig you can get your hands on, and it'll get the job done for this project. Once all the holes are drilled, I clamped everything to my bench and finished part of the frame that should end up looking like a C in the end. To make the legs extra fancy, we're going to add an angled piece. I marked about 8 inches from the top. I then clamped a piece of wood between my marks and the front end on the bottom. This is the easiest way to find out your angles so you're not doing all kinds of math. But if you'd prefer to skip this step and just make a rectangle for the legs, that will not change a thing and work out perfectly fine. I just wanted to add a little something extra to this project. So once I've got the angled piece cut out, I used my pocket hole jig again to add some pocket holes to secure it to the frame. This could have been done ahead of time, but this angled piece is kind of an afterthought, so we're just winging it as we go. This is what one completed leg will look like. Time to sand it up. If you do not own a random orbit sander, a little bit of regular old sandpaper and elbow grease will get the job done just fine. Once everything is sanded, we're going to flip everything upside down on the workbench and then clamp the legs flush with the top of the desk. Drilling from the inside, we're going to add 4 screws from the inside of the box to the legs to keep everything together. The last piece to add is a brace across the bottom and the back to help keep everything square. The only glue I used in this project is to keep the actual box together. The rest of it is just pocket holes, so when this nightmare of online learning is over, we can dismantle these desks and put them away for storage for the next pandemic. If you own a router and an 1/8 inch roundover bit, go ahead and give everything a once over. If not, just knock down all the edges with a piece of sandpaper. The desk is the perfect size for a laptop or tablet, with plenty of room for books and notepads, pens and pencils or snacks. You can paint it, leave it plain, fill in the pocket holes, or even throw a piece of melamine on top and use the entire surface as a whiteboard. If you'd like free detailed plans for this project, as well as a cut list and everything you need to buy at the store, please visit my website below and click the link. If you liked what you saw here today, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. See you next time.